Gabriel Winant, The Next Shift, The Fall of Industry and the Rise of Healthcare in Rust Belt America. In this summary of The Next Shift, The Fall of Industry and the Rise of Healthcare in Rust Belt America, by Gabriel Winant, we explore the transformation of the U.S. labor market from heavy industry to the rapidly growing care sector. Learn about the decline of Pittsburgh's steel industry, the rise of healthcare, and the racial and gender divides inherent in these shifting economic landscapes. As the care sector continues to grow, the author looks at issues such as low wages, job shedding, and government intervention faced by an industry with limited options to increase productivity.
The trilemma of the care industry. The care sector in the U.S. faces a trilemma as firms that provide mass employment operate at low margins, while those that don't rake in huge profits. Despite this, the care sector provides 1 in every 7 jobs in the U.S., and some firms are trying to shirk responsibility through subcontracting work and misclassifying workers. Care workers are responsible for everyone, yet no one is accountable for their well-being. To resolve this trilemma, the sector must choose from increasing wages and shedding jobs, keeping wages as low as possible to maintain employment, or relying on government intervention. Pittsburgh's industrial past. Pittsburgh was once a major industrial city with a workforce dominated by blue-collar workers. Black men were predominantly unskilled laborers, while white women held clerical roles. The city's economy relied heavily on the steel industry, which also determined its demographics and social hierarchy. The decline of steel in the 1970s led to a significant impact on the city, exacerbating the divide between union and non-union workers and driving them into the healthcare industry. The steel industry's costly mistakes. In the late 1940s, America's steel industry received government support to increase capacity. However, instead of investing in more advanced technologies, they built larger plants. When demand for steel decreased after the Korean War, they were left with outdated plants. Unionized workers' significant wage increase didn't help as policymakers feared rising steel industry costs would increase inflation. Policymakers unsuccessfully tried to nationalize the steel industry as the conflict between them escalated in parallel with the economic downturn. The steel industry raised its prices during a severe recession in 1957 and failed to invest in improved technology, leading to reduced workforce size and a divide between managers and workers. Women in working-class families. After the Second World War, working-class families in Pittsburgh enjoyed a high living standard due to the economic security provided by jobs in the steel industry. Men were the sole breadwinners while women bore the responsibility of running the home and raising future generations. Despite the seemingly high standard of living, interruptions in work left families struggling to meet the modest but adequate standard of living. Women often lived in multi-generational family units and worked around their husbands' shifts, waking early to take care of the household and children throughout the day. They also determined how to stretch their husbands' wages as far as possible through frugality and ingenuity. In times of shortage, working-class women faced the pressure of maintaining their family's appearance of affluence while hiding their struggles from others. The community believed that failure to provide for one's family was humiliating, so women worked to maintain this image while replicating their parents' lives for their children. The economic struggle of black families. As manufacturing jobs began to decline in the 1960s, black families were hit hard, with unskilled black laborers being the first to lose their jobs. Black women took up care jobs but still struggled to make ends meet. Unlike their white counterparts, most black families did not own homes due to racism in the housing market. Unemployment led to overcrowding in black neighborhoods, and black families lacked communal institutions to provide support during hard times. In 1965, Pittsburgh launched the War on Poverty to provide job training and childcare, but white working-class families resented being labeled as poor. Despite these challenges, black families taught their children survival strategies and relied on their communities for support, persevering through economic struggles. The history of healthcare access in collective bargaining. In the mid-20th century, healthcare access became crucial in collective bargaining. Unions negotiated agreements that established industry-specific welfare benefit systems, while the government allowed employers to provide benefits subsidized with tax breaks. The Pittsburgh area's steelworkers union joined the Blue Cross, which became the largest health insurance company in western Pennsylvania. Hospitals funded their expansions with retained revenue, donations, and borrowing. They also sold bonds based on insurance payments received and used debt financing to invest in new technologies and buildings. This led to increased costs, making medical care unaffordable for the uninsured. Medicare and Medicaid's introduction further escalated the demand and costs, and hospitals took advantage of the government's reimbursements to finance their expansions. Healthcare expansion benefited bondholders and hospital administrators, but it failed to address the systemic issue of managing social problems with other people's money. White people largely benefited from these developments as racism and segregation persisted in the health system. Impact of industrial decline on healthcare. The decline of the steel industry in the 1970s had severe consequences for the citizens of Pittsburgh. The unemployment rate rose significantly, while local governments had to cut services due to reduced tax revenues. Retraining programs were also inadequate for steelworkers. In addition to an aging population requiring care, mental health issues also increased, such as alcoholism and suicide. However, healthcare services remained stable due to government health programs, which created jobs but at lower wages. Hospitals changed their priorities to focus on technology-enabled procedures that brought in more revenue but negatively impacted staffing levels and wages. Low-level nursing staff turnover led to a decrease in care quality. This excerpt shows how a decline in one industry can create ripple effects throughout a community's economy and social well-being.
The summary of the next shift highlights the changes in the U.S. labor market, marked by the decline of the steel industry and the rise of the care sector. By examining Pittsburgh's transformation, we learn about the significant impacts on families, communities, and the workforce with a focus on racial and gender divides. The care sector's growth presents challenges such as low wages, job loss, and government intervention. The book emphasizes the importance of understanding the consequences of these historical shifts and provides insights into the challenges faced by care workers and the industry as a whole.